What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Hippo Supercoach, and today we're going to be talking about what I have learned, and I think what we all have learned generally with Supercoach in 2023, and lessons we can go forward into 2024 with. So the first thing that I've learned, and a lot of this might seem a bit repetitive because these are things we've learned in other years, but it's easy to forget them, and I want to come back to this video a couple of weeks before round one next year, and remember what I said to myself, my 2024 self, about to go into the 2024 season. So yeah, that's what the point of this video is. But without further ado, so the first thing I've learned is to not pick players based on what they used to be, unless obviously a role change or like proven form, or injury free. So if they had an injury that they were playing through, and now that they don't have that injury anymore, obviously that makes a lot of sense to pick someone. And specifically the players that I'm talking about are Touk Miller and Callum Mills. They really hurt my season. Look at both these guys. Obviously Mills 143 the last round on the bench. It hurt a little bit. But yeah, I mean 87.7 average. Obviously there was a low score in there, but even without that low score, I think he might be like an 89 or a 90. And this is a guy that 2022 he averaged, what did he average? 117. So pretty crazy stuff that he dropped off as hard as he did. Touk Miller's another one, and the reason that I said like we shouldn't pick him is because we knew that they weren't playing their best footy, and we still just ended up biting the bullet and picking him. So I think yeah, I think it was a big mistake, and it really hurt my season. He averaged 120 in 2022, in 2023, just the 90 or 98. Still respectable, but down the stretch there, he was really hurting us, not having him in the midfield, playing on the wing. That sort of stuff really does hurt your scoring. So that's one thing I've learned. Another thing I've learned is to not pick injury-prone players or injury interrupted pre-seasons. So specifically two guys that I'm thinking of, Jack Steele and Luke Davies-Uniacke. Now both these guys really burnt me. Obviously Steele started, traded out, back in, back out, and yeah, he was just an absolute bear man for me. And when I traded him out, he ended up doing pretty well. Actually his last couple of games were pretty average, but yeah, he went on a big stretch of good scores there for a bit, so that was really annoying. But yeah, I think we have to just stay away from them, as tempting as they are. Steele was a pod going into this year for a reason. I thought good value, can get back to his 126, and this sort of ties into my first point a bit. I thought, well, Jack Steele, he's not in many teams. If he starts hot, I could go big here, but there's a reason that not many people picked him. And whilst we say don't look too much into the preseason games, we have to look into it a bit, because if I had have done that with Steele, I wouldn't have picked him, and I probably would have gone someone like Clary. So little things can really hurt like that. I think generally, like, the community has most of the season, covered, if that makes sense. Like, we sort of know roughly whatever. Like Bont M1, that was always a no-brainer. He ended up being not only M1 but P1, I guess, player one. So those sort of things we can predict, but it's just those little things that we get wrong that really hurt us. Another thing that I also learned is to not trade for 1 to 2 week injuries or suspensions, and specifically I'm talking about Will Day and Tom Green. Both these guys ended up trading out when they only had a couple of weeks injuries or suspension. So yeah, it comes back to bite you. If I had an extra trade there, I keep Nick Dacos. I get rid of Nick Dacos, and I don't have to field a 26 from Sincotta. Not that it really mattered in the end, but still would have been nice for overall. And I think another thing that I've learned, and I didn't actually plan to say this, is to not, just because we have 36 trades, it's not necessarily as much as we think. Yes, we can play more aggressive, but I think most of us played too aggressive this year. Too many sideways trades. To be fair, there was a lot of injuries, a lot of Supercoach relevant players getting hurt this year. I don't know why, to be honest. Um, and then suspensions as well. You know, Sicily, the tackle really hurt. Um, and yeah, I just think we got to chill a bit on the trades and holding those trades in round 5 or 6. Maybe not those rounds, but maybe 1 and 2, or maybe not 2 either because that's the bubble round. But just like when there's a 50-50 trade, the option to not trade is definitely the best option because at least then you're holding trades. If it's much riskier to trade someone than it is to not trade. Now you probably think I'm just like talking gibberish right now, but a scenario I was in, if I open up my team's history, trade history, so you should be able to see this. So round, where was it? The one I traded Steele out. Okay, it's back here. So I had to trade Yo. See, bringing in Yo, that was stupid. And I should have read that situation better because I should have known, you know what, I'm low on trades. Don't take a punt on Elliot Yo, who literally gave me one game. So anyway, I traded out Steele for Green pretty much. And I brought in Mills as well that week. What a nightmare. And then Mills the next week. And then Green gets injured, all right? And Steele, I think, went like 140. So those sideways trades do hurt you. And I thought at the time I had the luxury to be able to do that. But no, I definitely did not. Walsh for Jackson, that was okay. But yeah, so I ended up bringing in Tuke Miller. He ended up doing pretty average. So Green, Mills, Miller, all in the 2 weeks, and Green that not having to go anyway. Another trade that I got really wrong was probably Decam was pretty bad trade in hindsight. Zeeble trading out for Brayshaw was good. Steele in, that was very stupid for Wilmot and Radaglia. I should have just got waited a week and got in someone who's uber primo. Would have saved me a lot of trades. And then another one that I shouldn't have done. See, this was annoying because I went Doherty to Sard to LDU, I think, and like I did like 4 trades in a row where it was just all injuries. So yeah, I'm kind of rambling on here, but yeah. So and the other thing, the last thing that I've really learned is to not be too focused on tags. Now, Tom Stewart is the one I said at the start of the year. Like I thought he was going to cop a fair bit of attention. I thought he was a stupid starting pick. Look, he ended up being a bad starting pick because he got injured, but not because he got tagged. So I think we've got to chill a bit on the tags. Yes, when it comes to VC and Cs, we have to watch out for them because obviously we can't afford to throw away that double points. And when you have so many premium options in your team, then obviously you're going to pick a player that doesn't play against the known tagger over someone that is going to play against the known tagger. But when you're picking players just in general, not vice captain wise, but actually selecting them in your team, the starting team, I don't think we should be too worried about taggers. And I think like guys like Nick Dacos, yes, he's going to cop a lot of attention next year, but I still think he's a must-have just based on what he will do without the tags. So yeah, that's where I'm sitting with it because I was especially heavy on the taggers and whatnot. So yeah, lesson learned. These are all lessons learned. So hoping to come back to this video in, I don't know what, March is it next year? Maybe even earlier, maybe Feb, and just like, because I'm sure we'll all be in the blender, in the mental blender that is the Supercoach preseason. Everyone will be changing their teams every 2 seconds and whatnot. So yeah, we'll suss this video back in the future. But yeah, that's it for the video, guys. Hope everyone has a good week. Get a good weekend of AFLW Fantasy, and I'll see you next one.